All right. Okay, so so good afternoon, everybody. So my name's Ben. I'm one of the staff here at Griffith College, and thanks for joining us today. What I'm going to do this afternoon is, at the start of this, I'm going to just give you a little bit of background on Griffith College, tell you a little bit of general information about what we do and how it works here. And then we're lucky enough to have Tess join us today. So Tess is the program convener for our health programs. So I know those of you that have joined today have been invited because you've shown interest in the health field. So she's going to help go into a little bit more detail for us about health-specific programs and also answer some of your questions. So hopefully help you with getting ready to start your journey and come study with us at Griffith College. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take us through some slides first and give you a little bit of information. So I'm just going to change over. All right, so I just want to double check. Can everybody see that? You should see Griffith College on your screen now and a little picture of a girl saying, take the next step. Can I just double check you can all see that? Yeah. Perfect, yep, we can. Okay, great, let's get started. So, so Griffith College. So Griffith College is been working with Griffith University for around about a little over 20 years now. And so what we are, we're a pathway for students looking to get directly into Griffith University that maybe cannot get in directly because maybe you didn't meet the requirements, or maybe you're looking for that extra support during your first year before you make that step into the second year of university. So that's where we fit into the process. So a little bit of background. I know some of you joining us today are here Australian students, but I know some of you are international students tuning in from overseas. So a little bit of background on where we are. So we have Griffith University have 5 campuses split across Brisbane and the Gold Coast. So I'm actually talking to you today from the Gold Coast campus, but Griffith College has campuses here on the Gold Coast, but we're also located on the Mount Gravatt campus in Brisbane as well. So some programs are offered on multiple campuses, some of the programs are only on specific campuses. So the little map you're seeing now gives you a little bit of an idea. You can see down there where Brisbane and Gold Coast is with respect to the rest of Australia, and the bigger map you're seeing shows you Brisbane to Gold Coast is around about an hour apart by car, maybe about an hour and a half by public transport. So yeah, a little bit about, so I'm going to go into some of these things in a little bit more detail in the next couple of slides, but just as a bit of an overview. So the big difference between studying with us and studying your first year at a university in Australia are the class sizes and the extra support. So to give you a rough idea, in most universities in Australia, first year you could be in a lecture theatre with 100, maybe 200 students in your lecture theatre. In the college, it varies from about 20 to 50 students in a lecture theatre, depending on the program and depending on how popular it is, the time of the year and things like that. As you can see there, we have 3 different intakes. And then the big benefit to studying with us as a pathway as opposed to other areas is that you're physically here on the campus. So when you start at Griffith College, you still have access to the Griffith University facilities. So you still use the same Griffith University library that you would if you were studying your first year of your bachelor. You still use the same facilities. You can join some of the social and sporting teams. So it's just like being a Griffith University student while you're doing that first year of the Griffith College. All right, so I am going to take a second to talk about this slide. I think this is probably, if there's not much else you remember about what I say today, it's this is probably the one thing to try and remember, and this sort of describes to you how we work and how Griffith College fits into the process. So I've just got the little highlighter up here. So basically these red boxes on the right-hand side, this is your university degree. So this is your standard university degree at Griffith University. Now, most programs are 3 years, but not all. Some of them will be 4 years, or some are even a little bit longer, depending on how you choose to study them. Over here on the left, this is the equivalent of high school. So depending on what country you're from, depends on what level you would finish here. And then Griffith College, this is where we fit, here in the middle. So for most students, you would finish up the equivalent of your high school back in your home country, whether that's Australia or somewhere else. And then you would move into what we call our diploma. So the ones we're going to be focusing on today are the Diploma of Health Science and the Diploma of Social and Psychological Science. At the end of that diploma, as long as you pass, you move straight across into year 2 of your degree. Now, there are some situations where you need certain scores or things might be a little bit different, and we'll go into that with Tessa a little bit later in the presentation. We also have an associate degree. This is kind of like doing your second year of university, also in the college though, and in that option you move across into year 3. For today's programs though, we're going to be focusing on diploma, moving across into year 2 of the degree. So I should just point out what you learn in the diploma is very similar or exactly the same in some cases as the course content that you would be covering in your first year of the bachelor. So you're learning the same course content, it's just delivered in a very different way in those smaller classes that I was talking about. All right, just next couple of slides are just on some of the support options that we have here at the college. So this is listing some of the student support, and we might ask Tess a little bit about this later and how this affects some of her students, or how some of her students are using this. So yeah, we'll come back to that in a little bit, but there's also, so that was from the academic side, but then there's also the welfare side as well. So as you can see, they're helping out with different areas. So it's not just the academic side we're here to help you with, it's also the welfare side as well. This is a little interesting note here that you'll see on the screen. So on average, students that have completed their college diploma moving across into year 2 actually do better than students that have started their first year in the degree. Now, I know that might sound a little bit surprising to you, but so there might be less high achieving students coming out of the diploma into the degree compared to students that started in year 1. But that middle group of students, that sort of the average group of students, on average, our students are doing slightly better in their degree. And we believe that's because of the extra support that you get in that first year to really help build you up to move into that second year and continue the studies that way. For both Australian students that maybe don't live in the area or for international students, so we do offer help with accommodation. There's a few different accommodation options available here. So there is on-campus living. On-campus living, depending on which campus you are, it's either dormitory style living or apartment style living. So either on your own or sharing with up to 5 students. We have off-campus, so there are a lot of different options for students close to all our campuses, private type accommodation. And then we also do homestay as well. So homestay is where we find you an Australian family to live with. So it's a great way to do it if you're an international student who's maybe a little bit nervous about coming across, and that way you've got someone to pick you up from the airport, someone to show you around a little bit, you've got a safe room in somebody's house for your first semester while you're still finding your way around and getting started. A little bit on our nationality mix. So this nationality mix changes semester to semester. The one we're looking at the moment, this is the overall nationality mix for the college. So sometimes there's slightly more international students, sometimes there's slightly more Australian students. When we get into program specific though, it changes quite heavily. So some programs there might be more Australians, some programs there might be more internationals, and I'll ask Tess to give us a little bit of an update on what that's like for the programs we're talking about today. Now, just a quick bit on Griffith University. So Griffith University is actually ranked in the top 3% of universities in the world. So it's quite a high ranked university in terms of on the world stage. There's a few other stats there that you'll see, but I think the other key one to look at is the bottom one. So that's 5-star graduate employability. So look, let's be really honest, a lot of students are coming to do their study because they want to learn more about a study area, but I'd say for a lot of you, the end goal is to use that degree to help you get a job. So to have the QS stars rating system ranked at 5 stars for employability for Griffith, I think that's a pretty big bonus for you and something that yeah, it's definitely worth keeping in mind when you're looking at universities in Australia. Now, just to quickly touch on, so Griffith College does offer study in a whole heap of different areas, as you can see there on the screen. So we cover, yeah, fair few different areas. We can help you get into most of the different degrees at Griffith University. However, for today, we're going to be focusing mainly on the health field and a couple of the different options that we have for that. So now I'm actually going to ask Tess to come and join us. Tess, would you like to come and join us? Yeah, a little bit squeezy.
Hi everyone.
All right. So Tess, yeah, would you mind introducing yourself and yeah.
Sure. I'm Tessa Daal. I look after Diploma of Science and Diploma of Social and Psychological Science on the focus.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Now, what we might do is we might start today by looking at. So Tess is the program convener for both this program and social and psych science. So we might first focus on the Diploma of Health Science program. So Tess, if you would mind taking us through the program structure and explaining how that first year would work for students.
Yeah, so we've got the diploma consists of 9 courses in total. So as you can see on the screen here, in the first trimester, students start by studying Anatomy and Physiology 1, and very important course, which is Academic and Professional Skills, which provides them the skill to be able to pretty much thrive through the assessments. Then Essential Maths. Essential Maths is basically in there to help students with Chemistry of Biological System 1 and Chemistry of Biological System 2. So it's been put in place because we recognize that students have a lack of mathematical skills and we want you to succeed. So in order to do that, we need to make sure that any gaps that you may have on the mathematical scale is pretty much filled. So that would be the first trimester. Then second trimester, students, if everything goes okay, students migrate and they do cells, tissue, and regulation, so which is a biological part of the course. Health Challenges is not a scientific course, but it looks at how health and the community intervene. And then we've got the Chemistry of Biological System, which is what I teach. Chemistry is my field. It takes us through the basics of chemistry. And then we've got in trimester 3 the Anatomy and Physiology 2, Genes and Disease, and Chemistry of Biological Systems 2. So the way the course, or I should say the diploma is structured, is that there's prerequisites. So you can't just do any sort of course at any time. I'll give you an example. You can't do Anatomy and Physiology 2 without doing Anatomy and Physiology 1, which is after trimester 1, and cell tissue regulation. And the reason is, if you just jump into Anatomy and Physiology 2 without the pre-knowledge, you will struggle. Then we've got cell tissue regulation, which you can see there is up to trimester 2, is a prerequisite for genes and disease. We don't want you to struggle, so we equip you, so then when you get to genes and disease, you're fine. And then the Essential Maths, as you can see in trimester 1, all the way at the bottom, will equip you with all the mathematical skills for Chem 1, that's how we call it. And then from there, after you have all the basic knowledge of chemistry, then you can move on to Chemistry of Biological System 2, which I call. So there are prerequisites in the diploma. They are there for a really good reason to help you succeed through it. So yeah, that's in. And I should maybe mention that we've got in the diploma, we've got the biological side and we've got the chemical side. Yes, you get a little bit of both in the diploma, and it's because it's going to prepare you for all the different types of bachelors that you can articulate into later on. We will have a discussion about that in a moment. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks, Deb. Now, Tess, and I just noticed with the maths, would you be able to tell us a little bit about, I understand there's a maths test students can take if they feel they're already at a high enough level?
Yeah, so when you come in, visit us in orientation, I'm going to talk to you through the possibility. If you're feeling confident with your maths, you can opt to do this Essential Maths quiz that we've got. So it's pretty much, it will determine if you're at the right level. And if you are at the right level, we will exempt you from having to do Essential Maths, and you can go and do Chemistry of Biological Systems 1. Yes, so I might just recap on that. In orientation, if you feel that your maths is up to scratch, then you can opt to pretty much sit this maths ready quiz. And it's pretty much, it works kind of a credit. Yeah, so it's like you applying for credit. I believe I've got the knowledge, so I'm going to apply for credit. But in order to do that, you need to sit the natural degrees and demonstrate that you've got 70%, at least 70% of the knowledge that you need. If you say, you know what, I haven't done maths in a very long time, and I do that a lot, I definitely need to upskill myself. Then, yes, you can enroll in BLH, which is called BLH 100, which is the code for essential maths. So, so those are the options.
Yeah, perfect, thank you. And the other one I just wanted to touch on quickly was academic and professional skills. Could you? So I understand that academic and professional skills is a subject that's in all the different diplomas, but so that sort of sets students up for the rest of their study.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. As you can see in trimester 2, self-issue regulations, students will have to create a poster. And this poster will be based on a Nobel Prize winner, a Australian Nobel Prize winner, and obviously they need to do research about it, so scientific research. And we need all students to know what to do and what not to do, what resources are good resources, what definitely we should not be getting ourselves into, because we don't want to get into any sort of academic integrity issues. Yeah? So the academic and professional skills really prepare students so they know, for instance, which research papers are the right ones to use. How do I paraphrase? So I'm not, so I pretty much acknowledge the writer of that particular paper. So in essence, we don't want you to get into any further trouble. So therefore, we've put the academic and professional skills in place to assist you all the way through. There will be, I'll give you another example. Health challenges for 21st century in the second trimester there. It's got essays in it that you will have to write. So yes, you need to know how to go about writing these essays. Some of you might have never written an essay before. So it's just giving you the tools so you can perform and try.
Perfect, lovely, thank you. So we might now move on to, so thanks for giving us a bit of a talk through year one. We might now have a look at what you're seeing on your screen right now. These are all the different bachelors that you can move into after the diploma. So yeah, Tess, would you be able to tell us a little bit about some of these programs?
I think I'm very fortunate in a way because my students in health science have a lot of tools. We've got 12 bachelors that this foundational diploma will open for you. The doors will open. So we've got, I'll just start from the top. We've got health science, as you can see, the biomedical science. I always get the question, what's the difference between health science and biomedical science? So health science has got a lot of electives. So it provides students with options if you feel like they are more interested in the environment. So then you can choose electives. So then after you finish your bachelor later on, you can move and migrate into that field there. Biomedical science, and that's just one of the electives, there's many of them. Biomedical science, on the other hand, is prepare students for more of a research world, or it's also used as a stepping stone if you want to be postgraduate in medicine. So that's and I guess health science and biomedical science, you go more in detail into the knowledge in biomedical science than in health science. They have a lot of courses in common when you get over Medical laboratory science, or MedLab side, as we call it, is definitely going to be working in a lab, doing research or analytical research. Then nutrition and dietetics, that's very self-explanatory. We've got pharmacology and toxicology. I always get the question, what's the difference between pharmacology and toxicology and pharmacy? So pharmacology and toxicology will prepare you to work in the research world in that field. But pharmacy, on the other hand, will assist you in working into a pharmacy. So that's I would guess the main differences between those two. Exercise science, I have a lot of students in exercise science. That is very broad again. So we can have, so if we're talking about jobs, we can have people working with, let's just say someone that incurred an injury. Yeah, so rehabilitation, or it might be working in strength training, or they could get jobs in sleeping disorders, so you can assist people in that. So there's a whole range of jobs in there. Then we've got the science, a Bachelor of Science, that there prepares students for, let's just say you want to become a mathematician, or you want to do physics, forensic science, so that leads more into the hard sciences, if I could call that, not the health as much. Sports development, that's if you want to work with, let's just say, the Suns, yeah, or what's the other one?
Titans.
Yes, I'm not, you can see I don't follow, but yes, thanks, Ben. And then we've got occupational therapy, so if you would like to work in hospital, for instance, in the private sector, with the occupational therapy. Very, very popular. Paramedicine. I must mention, so I'll talk to you about the focus in a moment, and then physiotherapy, which is also extremely popular. Now, we need to be very mindful of, so if you can have a look on the last column there, some of the diplomas, some of the bachelors have got quota. So we need to keep that in mind. Medical laboratory science only have 10 places, but it's not as popular, so I've never filled that quota. Same for, I just want to jump down a little bit. I'll go from less popular to extremely popular. Pharmacy, I've got 20 places. Again, I've never filled that quota. But nutrition and dietetics only have 5 spots for it. This means that it is highly competitive. And these 5 spots here, all this quota is per year. So that means trimester 1 and trimester 2, all those students, okay? This means that to be able to get a position for Griffith, you're welcome to come and study with us. You need to make sure that your GPA, which is a summary, it's an accumulation of all your grades across the year, is really good. Yeah, it needs to be, GPA 7 is the highest, okay? So we're talking here for nutrition and dietetics, we need to be sitting around the high 5%, so between 5 and 6. Now I'm going to go to the most popular ones and the highly more in demand ones. So I'm going to jump down to the bottom to paramedicine. Extremely popular and have 5 spots. This one here, we're looking at a GPA of I'll go 6.57. That's where we need to be, okay? So if we're talking about knowledge, the amount of knowledge that you need, we're talking in between 85% to 100% of knowledge. That's where we need to be sitting. Then I've got physiotherapy, which I only have 2 spots for, 2 on the Gold Coast and 2 out in Nathan. Again, for that one, let's go 7. Yeah, we're going to go 7 for that one. Wow. So that, yes, it's extremely competitive. So I guess the most important thing to have in place, and regardless of what it is that you're going to choose, it's a plan B. You need to have a plan B. If I don't get that position, let's just say for paramedicine, what is my other option? Yeah, can I choose something else? Of course, we can choose a different, and I'm talking specifically for paramedicine right now. If you're, in the back of your mind, I really would like to do paramedicine, and you come in, and obviously a lot of students need to learn how to learn, and that's the first year. So their academic results might not be that high, but we need to have a plan B. So that might mean that we look at one of the other diplomas, one of the other bachelors on the list and go, which one appeals to me better? So then when you articulate to Griffith, you might study a year worth of that particular diploma. It needs to be something that interests you. Don't go and put something that doesn't interest you, because otherwise you won't perform. Yeah? And with performing, I mean, get that higher GPA. Yes, we need to get that high GPA to make it extremely competitive. So then you can go and apply for paramedicine. which we call an internal transfer. So once you're at Griffith, you can apply for an internal transfer. Okay, so that's paramedicine. So I'll also talk to you about physiotherapy for the future students who are thinking about physiotherapy. Extremely competitive, plan B. Okay, so physiotherapy is slightly different. The only way to get into physiotherapy is or through us or through QTAC. There is no internal transfer. That means you can't go into a different bachelor in Griffith and then request Griffith transfer you into physiotherapy. Okay, so that's when we need to go, okay, which one of these bachelors aligns a little bit better? And then it might mean that you have to do a year worth, get that GPA up again, right? And then apply to QTAC. So whatever it is that we do, we need to have a plan B in place. If that makes sense.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Tess. So I guess just to recap, so for the programs that have a quota, obviously always great to have a backup. And then for the where it says nil, that means as long as you pass and meet the required GPA, all students are offered a place in those courses. Yeah.
Actually, I might just touch base on something that you said before when you showed me the slide with the, you should have to go back. It's that slide with high school and we'll just move that so we can very often pass it.
Yep.
Okay. So where Griffith College diploma going into second year and first year. Okay. Most of our bachelors that this diploma leads into will go into second year. But some of them are so specific that you will not go into second year, but you will go into first year. So examples of that would be physiotherapy. Physiotherapy has got courses that we don't offer here because physiotherapy is specific. So that means for physiotherapy, you finish the diploma with us, and then you move into their first year path, their physiotherapy first year. Paramedicine is another one of those. You do the diploma with us, you get that GPA up, so then you can actually go, I always say cross the bridge. We've got a bridge here in between the college and Griffith University. So I always refer to cross the bridge. So you cross the bridge and you go into paramedicine's first year. But another course, another bachelor in health science, no problem. You finish the diploma with us, you move into the second year of health science. So it depends which of these bachelors you're interested in, and then obviously you can talk to you about where will you be.
Perfect. Thank you. So we might step back to where we were. So I think we've covered off, and thanks for going through all of those tests. That's awesome. So we might now make a move on to the Diploma of Social and Psychological Science. So similar to what we did with Health Science. So this is the first year, and Tess, if you wouldn't mind talking us a little bit through for the first year of Social and Psychological Science.
Yeah, so you've got here. Okay, yes. So with the Diploma of Social and Psychological Science, we've got two streams. We've got the social stream. So these are the streams that are interested in going into the social part of things, and we've got the psychological stream. So depending on which stream you're in, there might be slight differences in the courses. But I'll take you through the general, and then we can go into detail. So in the trimester one, as you can see, these are that same academic and professional skills, same course. Again, to skill you up. So you don't run into any sort of trouble, and you can do your assessments more relaxed. Then we've got, coming down, we've got human services structures, interpersonal skills. So that interpersonal skills there, I just want to point out, this particular course has got a component in it where you have to be present, because it's going to assess how your interpersonal skills are in class, and it's an assessment, okay? So I guess I just want to point out that this is not an online diploma. You need to be present to be able to achieve the pass terms. We've got introductories all the way at the bottom, trimester 1, introductory individual and social and psychology. So there's two, there's that version there, and then second trimester. So this is a student that decides to do 4-4, so 2 trimesters. I always recommend go slow, go deep. It's my slogan. Yes. So don't push it, because we all have lives. There are a lot of students that have lives, work commitment, they might have kids. So we need to, and I always talk about that in communication. It's very good. Don't load up and then struggle. Slow and deep. So in trimester 2, we offer human services processes, as you can see, or introductory to cognitive and biological psychology, which we call acronym called BOB. We've got great ones. So now, you can see there's 2 courses there. The reason is the social stream students, so this would be someone that wants to do counseling, for instance. That student would then have to choose human services process. But if you want to do the psychological stream, so if you want to do psychology, then you'll be doing cognitive. So that's where it kind of splits in with it. Then, second course down, introduction to social theory, equity and diversity, and all the way at the bottom, again, we've got a little bit of a split. So if you're in the social stream, you do lifespan development. If you're in the psychological stream, you're doing business studies. So those would be the main differences in between the 2 streams. And I guess I can give you some examples of the 2, the social stream and the psychology. We've got psychological science. So those are the students who decide that they really like to become a psychologist. But in saying that, a lot of the psychologists can also work as counselors. There's a whole range of jobs that can be done. The social stream would be a student that is interested in human services, for instance. And I think we've got a slide. On those ones. Yeah, let me take you through this one here. So, Bachelor of Human Services, social work, child and family, and counseling. Those ones fall under the social stream. Okay? And then the psychological science falls under the psychological stream. So hopefully that will make a bit more sense. So I always get the question, what can I do? The list is endless. It's a very big list. But I guess the take-home message would be to identify where your interest lies. Is it, are you interested in working with the elderly? Are you interested in working with kids? Is it domestic violence that is where you want to help? Is it Torres Strait Islanders and Aboriginals that you're interested in? So we need to first try and streamline what your interest, where your interest lies, and then you can go and have a look at what would fit you best. Are you interested in counseling people? And then if you're interested in counseling, would it be for kids? Would it be for adults? Would it be for adolescents? So there's a lot of thought that needs to go behind. So we make sure that whatever it is that you pick is the right fit for you. So you're happy to work in that field because you're going to be working with people. Regardless what it is that you choose, people are at the same time. If that makes sense. Now, just something quickly to point. Most of these bachelors don't have quota, except for the Bachelor of Counseling, where we have 5 spots in mind for that. So 5 spots for mind for that if you are in the Brisbane area, but unlimited here on the coast.
Perfect. Thank you, Tessa. Thank you. So hopefully that gives you guys a bit of an overview of these 2 different areas and pathways that you can go into afterwards. Just a couple more general things before we go into Q&A. So just to let you know about some of the upcoming dates. So our next trimester, so all the programs that we've just spoken about today have the ability to start in trimester 2. So that's starting in the end of June. And it's not too late to apply for that. I know most of you watching today already have a letter of offer, but if you don't, it is not too late to apply for that. Then the next available intake for us is in October. Should be pointed out though, the health science programs that we just looked at are not available to start in trimester 3. So if June was too quick, we'd be looking at semester 1 next year in February for you. But for social and psychological science students, there is a trimester 3 option for you, so starting at the end of the year as well. And then, yeah, what to do next? So just to let you, so for those of you that have got your offer letter, you've decided that you do want to study at Griffith College now, I'd suggest you have a really good read through your letter of offer. It'll outline any conditions there might be or anything that you really need to know. And if you're happy with that, on page 4 is where you can sign to say, yes, I want to accept. If you sign that and send it back to us, so easiest way is to send it back to the person who emailed you the letter of offer, and then they'll be able to let you know all the other details of what you need to go from there. But the general process is you get your letter of offer, you sign it to say yes, you organise your payment. So for Australian students, that could be your fee help, so the government loan schemes. For international students, you'll be making a deposit to obtain your student visa. And then we're going to send you, international students, you'll get the documents to help you apply for your visa. And Australian students, you'll get all the documents you need to start choosing your timetables, and we go from there. But if any step of the way you're not sure, you can always give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'd be happy to help. So that just leads me on to our email and phone numbers for those of you that need to contact us. So I'll come back to this and leave it on the screen for you in a moment. There's also some of our socials for those of you that are interested to see what's going on campus and what's been happening around Griffith College. Feel free to follow us there. And then just to wrap up today, I just wanted to ask you all if there was any questions or if there's anything that we can help you with, either Tessa or myself, whether it was general or something more specific about your program. So I'll just bring this up so I can see Q&A. Okay, so we've got a question here, Tessa. So they've asked, how many hours a week will I spend in the classroom?
So if we're talking, I guess in general, a lecture would go around 3 hours. And if you've got a workshop, workshops are only an hour. Some courses have workshops only for 4 hours. So we'll say an average of 5 hours per course. So that means that if you're doing 3 courses, that's 15 hours minimum. That's not including labs.
Okay, perfect. And yeah, so just on that, could you help us understand the difference between a lecture? There's tubes, there's workshops, there's labs. How do those differ? How does that sort of all come together?
Yeah. So in the lecture is where you're presented with the material that you need to know. And then if your course has got a tutorial, that's when you're going to unpack that particular knowledge. And normally in workshops is where we unpack assessments that are related to the course. That would be the difference. Okay. In health science, we've got labs. So in labs is when we put everything in practice. So if we're talking about chemistry, that's when you don't blow anything up. I'll put that out there. Yeah, that's when we might be checking different types of reactions that may happen. We actually have a lab where we cook a curry, or we do some student cycle and check the blood glucose. So there's different types of labs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So do you think, from my understanding, I think it's probably students would be doing anywhere from 12 to say 16 hours a week in their tutes, lectures and workshops, and then you would have labs on top of that, which could be what, 2 to 6 hours a week, depending maybe.
Well, it depends how many courses. If you're doing the science courses, we're talking only about science students here. If you are doing 2 science courses, both of them have labs. So the labs range from 2 hours to 3 hours. So that, and labs are not run every single week. So you might have 5 hours worth in week 3, and then nothing for labs in week 4, and then again in week 6 you might have something. So it's not every single week.
Yeah. So yeah, I could see a follow-up question there being, so how many days a week would I be coming to class? So I think, again, it obviously depends on how many subjects you take, and like you said, some weeks you'll come more, some you'll come less, depending on your labs. But 3 to 5 days a week, would that be fair to say, depending on?
I would say on average, if you're doing 3 courses, you can count on 4 days.
4 days, yeah. Okay.
So if we're talking health science. The social and psychological science, if you're doing 3 courses, normally that would be 3 days.
So yeah, so it just depends on, that's perfect. And then I'll just give it a minute to see if there's any other questions that come through. So someone's just asking there about textbooks. Do I have to buy textbooks?
Yeah, so I'll start with social and psychological science for a moment. A lot of the courses now have online resources, yeah. But in health science, yes, there's textbooks that need to be bought, and lab manuals. Yeah, some of them have lab manuals. But the good thing in health science is that a lot of the resources that you buy are used in multiple courses, and same for lab manuals. So for instance, anatomy and physiology 1 and self-issue regulation use the same lab manual. So it saves some money.
I'm putting you on the spot, I know. Would you have any idea roughly what it would cost a student per semester in textbooks? Or I guess it probably depends on what you're studying. But.
Well, I guess, and this is talking health science again, because they have the textbook books. I would say the first thing to do, and we also promote that, is the online, the ebooks. Yeah, the ebooks are much cheaper. You can get an ebook for $50, as if you don't buy the actual textbook, that will cost you $120. So it's a big sale.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a bit of
yeah, no, that's good. So I can't see anything else coming through. I'll leave it up just for another couple of seconds in case somebody's got anything else to ask. But otherwise, just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. Big thanks to Tess for joining us and giving us some real detailed information. And if there's not something now, if you think of something later, feel free to send us an email or give us a call, and we'll be more than happy to help. So yeah, thanks everybody for joining, and have a great day, have a great weekend.